Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast. Episode 105, Cool Things in Your Gaming Collection with me, George, and as always joined by Bobby. Exclusive 1 of 20 gaming statues to my Halo 2 Steelbook. Feels good to be an exclusive scalped Halo 2 Steelbook, of which there were several million made, standing next to my iconic 1 of 20 gaming statue, probably Batman or some other ramble like that. Good, sir. How the devil are you?
I'm good, man. Pretty good.
Thanks to you and everyone listening for joining us again for another rip-roaring episode of the Unofficial Controller Podcast, the number one gaming podcast of exclusive, well-heeled gentlemen and ladies. Giving you a little vibe of how the show's going to break down. We've got some news coming up, smattering of all the red-hot news in there. Then we've got the feature, which is your most exclusive bit of gaming, Tat. I call it Tat. You might call it memorabilia. I'm a lover of Tat, so don't feel I'm disrespecting you in any way, because I'm certainly not. Once that's done and we've clawed through your gaming collections like a couple of gypsies with no money in their back pocket, we slide into friendly territory. It's the Stingray. He comes and sees us, lets us know what's coming out this gaming week. We may continue the new way of doing it. We may not. Depends whether Bobby's took some inspiration station from his inspiration station destination today. If not, I don't know. He can read and I can come up with something or other. God only knows at this point. And once Stingrays done, driven off, left his ill-gotten gains at our feet, I asked Bobby what he's hoping to play. But I can't let him go. We can't even begin the show without me asking him, Bobby, what you been playing? No, Otter's got nothing because he never reached out. What you been playing?
Well, before I say what I'm playing, I think the English are more, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when we do like the end of the show, when we do the, our ideas of the game's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are just quicker, more witty.
But America is the center of sales and advertising.
Yeah,
I thought you all had these.
Are amazing.
Okay, I was convinced that the Americans had like some sort of genetic predisposition.
For sure.
Oh, okay.
For sure.
Well, we are the immortal bad guys of every American TV show, so we're doing all right for ourselves. Question: what are you? Tell me. I was mooching around the lobby the other day, and I saw a guy come in carrying what looked like a Hoover, a wet Hoover. I don't want to know what you and Eva have been doing. In fact, I do. What's been going on your side of the apartment?
So we had the couches cleaned.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you clean them yourself, not the same. So my aunt had a guy that she knew.
Your aunt had a guy?
Yeah, my aunt has a guy for everything.
Wow, okay.
If you need something, you talk to her. So she had a guy. The guy came over and he cleaned the couches. Now they looked, there was some spots, nothing crazy. It's also one couch is 9 years old, one couch is 5, and the other one that I took from my sister is a year old. Right. Because she could not fit in her storage. So I had to rearrange my whole living room and dining room to fit it. It's massive, but it's comfortable. So I'm like, you know what? We should clean them. The amount of black water that came out from the couches made me nauseous.
Oh my God.
Because it looks clean, but it was not clearly clean.
Well, let me tell you something that's made me feel particularly ill, because when you and Eva were away the other week, I came and ate my dinner off the seat cushion.
Yeah, see, that probably wasn't a good idea. Now I know why sometimes Italian grandmas.
This is why we should. There's Eva. Hey, Eva.
Yeah, she's over there.
Can we hear her? Tell her we need to hit. We need to hear her voice. Amazing. Eva's first line on the show was hi. Fantastic.
Hi. Pretty standard. Pretty good.
Write that in the law. Okay. So, the couch is cleaned.
They came
somewhere
out, to brand new.
Park your derriere without transferring dirt from the couch to your exquisite, yet mahogany. No, what's the word? Ivory-like derriere.
Oh, yes, very ivory.
Ivory-like derriere. You park that down on the freshly cleaned sofa. There's a little bit of dampness, but you're not bothered. You're going to let that seep in. You're going to help the couch dry by absorbing its dampness. I love what you're doing here. When you then reversed back, beep, 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 this Bobby and controller are reversing. And then you sat down. What game did you play?
I'm playing Alienation with my boy Marlon.
Okay, how's that going?
It's a long game. It's not hard. It's really not. It's just long because you have to get certain items and they're rare drops.
What's Eva drinking?
She's drinking a banana shake.
You
just
guys.
Like
is she playing Switch?
Yeah, she is.
This is amazing. This is amazing. Video games being played while recording a video game show is fine. It's okay. Tell her it's okay.
Yeah.
We want Tom Nook in the background.
What else? Yeah, so Alienation, not hard, fun. Just the rare drops make it hard to get what you need.
Of course.
So you need one particular item that has 12 slots for a trophy. That could take forever. Or it could take 2 minutes. Depends on how lucky you are.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the frequency of the drops, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. So we're knocking that out. My stuff is me and my stepbrother and Marlon. Sometimes my brother comes on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm playing the Assassin's Creed DLC, Wrath of the Druids, I think it's called. That's really fun. And I downloaded...
I saw a TV spot for that the other day. I don't, if that's what we call it in America, I don't know. Do you call it an advert or a commercial? What do you call it?
Yeah, something like that. Commercial, really.
TV commercial. Tell a lie, it wasn't on actual TV. It was on, I think it was on YouTube, but it came up and I remember thinking, oh, that looks good. I wasn't a big fan of Valhalla, I have to admit. Like I say, I've absolutely kicked the wheels out of Assassin's Creed.
I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't as good as Odyssey. And if they keep going the same way, like the next game they're going to release, if I get it, I'll probably get it, but it's not going to be day one for me.
For me, I don't know how they can do what they're doing again and still keep the interest. Like, I don't want another open world. Like, to me, the
this
narrative
DLC
was too
is much different than just a standard, okay, here's another area. Do the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They added, trade routes and everything to keep it a little bit fresh, but it's still pretty much more of the same. Just Irish accents now. That's it.
Yeah, I was thinking this. I think me and Tom said this when we did a preview of Assassin's Creed Valhalla quite some time ago. Obviously, it must have been in the early days of the show. And they said all this stuff that was coming to it, like you can upgrade your town and your village and you can do this. And part of me was like, oh, right, okay. Part of me, I think at the time, I maybe was playing the Assassin's Creeds through. And you could level everything that's been leveled for all the things they've brought in, like maintain your town, employ shopkeepers, do this, do that, trade, find a way to get extra money out of it, upgrade your settlement. It was all in Assassin's Creed 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, and it is no deeper now than it was then. The only thing that they've dressed up is the tattoos. And to be honest with you, what a waste.
Mm-hmm.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, because you have all this tattoo, but you're in armor, so it doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
Number one. Number two, the next game they should do, honestly, should be like Assassin's Creed 3. I enjoyed that game more than anything I played on Assassin's Creed.
I don't think it needs... The temptation is to put more and more and more and more and more stuff in, and then you get... it's like taking a juice. If you drink neat juice, well, you can't stomach it, but you water it down to the point where the dilution of it is something that you can enjoy that doesn't taste like water.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Assassin's Creed has been watered down and down and down and down and down and down and down. If you refine it all the way back to the pure juice, we're talking Assassin's Creed 1. I still think that's a phenomenal game that holds up really well. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people clamoring for a remaster. I don't think that's necessary, but I understand why, because it's not really playable on modern systems. I presume it possibly might be on Xbox, but I've not looked. So, yeah, what else have you been playing?
I downloaded Manhunter. I was going to play it until the DLC.
Oh, Maneater.
Let me do the DLC, but it's ready to go. I'm gonna play it.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you like video games, podcasts, and reminiscing? I'm actor, video game writer, and total sweetie pie, Connor Savage McCabe, and on each episode of Call Me By Your Game, I sit down with a guest for an intimate look at a special game from their past. Did you and your dad beat Spyro the Dragon over the holidays? Or was Halo 4 the one thing that united your roommates during your senior year of college? Stories like these are what Call Me By Your Game is about. From video game content creator Janet Garcia to Hades voice actor Courtney Vinay's, I interview wonderful comedians and game industry friends about these memories. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe someday you'll call me by your game.
I'm glad you said that, because the show was officially going to end if you hadn't at least made some effort towards it. So
I'm excited because one of my friends downloaded it, and he said you start out as a little baby shark.
you do.
Said,
You literally do.
he said you just keep growing and growing, and so he said he enjoys it. So I mean, you said it too, so I'm gonna definitely play it.
As soon as I read the description of what you have to do in the game to move to the next area, to unlock the skills, to do the next bit, to do the next bit, to do the next bit, and the road to the platinum, I was like, it would be a crime for Bobby not to play this. And this will be one of those games that everyone's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And you're like, it is the best game I've ever played, sort of scenario. That's my take on Maneater for you.
That's cool. So that's pretty much it. Kind of a busy week.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Again, I've been all over on my, so I've played some, me and James, the work experience boy, had a real go at Returnal on Saturday. He's phenomenal on it. He's better than I am. He got really far at one point and he was like, oh, have you seen this? No. No. Good. But it's so savage when you die and you have to kind of remember everything you did to get to that point. Some of the rooms get really hot and lots of things going on, and you just get one stray clip at times. You know, your energy's low enough and you're doing really well and you're down to 1-on-1. You're like, yes, and you get clipped. Like, damn it.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling.
And the thing is, that dash button, you know, you use it to dodge one way and then you need it to go dodge the other way. That's the tactic of the game, obviously. And we're only scratching the surface. I think Returnal's going to be, for me, I've been watching Greg on the Enigmatic Play channel. He's been playing it. I've not been watching it, but I'm sort of following along in the background, reading his tweets and getting the Discord updates and other bits and bobs. And I see how he's like, we're going to have a run at this and we've got this list of things we need to check off and do. And I'm like, my God, he's so much more advanced than me. He's splitting the atom and I'm trying to smash two pebbles together, you know? So there's so much more to give. Every time we play it, we learn something new about it. So I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I think if I was here in the apartment and able to play it every single night, I would be well on with it now. But playing it sort of sporadically 2 or 3 nights a week max, and then like a maybe deeper session at the weekend, like, yeah, I think we'd be knocking on the door of the end game by now. I don't think it would be that long to get to that point. But when you play it sporadically, you kind of forget because the world changes. It's like, was it here or was it there? Or I don't know. So I'm looking forward to, I think I've got another sort of 4 or 5 weeks of this away Vita PSP malarkey, and then rarely some games. Although where I'm at, there's a PS3, so I've been enjoying some Arkham Asylum. That game still great, and some Red Dead Redemption as well. And I picked up for Vita, which I'm looking forward to once I get some time. I picked up the Sly trilogy for Vita. So the remake. I've got it on PS3 physical, but the Vita edition also gives you a PS3 download as well. I didn't. I was looking through the other day and was like, what? Hang on. Did it get a physical release? And it did. I think it might be an NTSC physical release. So I might put it in my watch list and pick it up at some point in time. But the idea of being able to play that game, which looks phenomenal on the remaster and plays phenomenally as well and works quite nicely on the Vita itself. On that screen, those cel-shaded graphics, awesome. Yeah, really good. I'd quite like to pick up the PS2 trilogy, to be fair, because I think I've got Jack and Daxter from memory trilogy, which is a cool thing to have on Vita. And then obviously I'm pretty sure Ratchet and Clank got a trilogy on there as well, like a remake. So I need to check into that. And then obviously the Sly Cooper trilogy. It'd be nice to get those sort of open worlders on there, but I think we digress. You ready for some news, handsome man?
Let's do it.
Okay. You'd think I'd know the blurb to the news, but you know what? People don't come here for my intelligence and memory. I don't know what they come here for.
A good show, a good time.
Do you know what, Bobby?
Good times.
That's what you're here for. Keep the service levels up, right where they expect it. Okay, listeners, we've scoured the very darkest region of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, tradition dictates we've got no idea who takes first shot in the news, even though we've had 105 episodes, 3 co-hosts, and God knows what else has gone on. Do you want to fight for it, or do you want to?
I mean, I could do it. Sure, no big deal.
Okay.
Time for Birdman. Time for the Birdman.
Wow.
The Birdman. Last year's remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 was a fantastic return to form for a series that has been struggling for well over a decade, and it seems you might be getting another entry in the near future. This is according to CKY drummer Jess Margira, thanks VGC, who told the Behind Closed Doors podcast recently that in addition to appearing in an older Tony Hawk game, he thinks the band will be featuring again. He quotes, I believe we are doing the new one coming out too. It could be that Margira was referring to some kind of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 update or the upcoming Nintendo Switch port, but he later went on and talked about the game in an interview as a separate product.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be surprised to see Tony Hawk's series return with another entry, but with Vicarious Visions being merged into Blizzard Entertainment earlier this year, it seems a different developer would be taking the reins, and the mystery remains as to whether it would be a brand new entry or another remake of sorts.
You see, that intrigues me because obviously the remake came out and everyone popped hard for it. It's those games that a lot of people grew up with and they know and love. I didn't. I came to it later as a teen or an early 20, whatever I was. And they play great. But there's a hole in the market for a skate clone. And if you could get that gameplay, nail it to the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater name, and come back with a next-gen skating experience that feels as real as you can make it. Because as good as Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 are, they're flipping arcade games, aren't they, really? I mean, you're grinding out on telegraph poles. That doesn't happen around where I'm from. But then again, neither does skateboarding, really. But, yeah, so great game. Be interesting to see how it went down. Maybe something a little bit more serious. Tony Hawk's as always, it kind of went a little bit weird, didn't it? And ended up sort of parodying itself to the point where you might as well have been grinding the moon. You know, you take a little ollie off a cloud, double pump off a bloody satellite, and then you're sort of grinding craters on the moon. That doesn't sound impossible for a Tony Hawk game. I don't want to see that. I want people to feel like they're absolute legends because they grinded a curb and then, you know, did a 360 and it keeps it grounded. Do you get off on spinning on Abraham Lincoln's head?
I mean,
that wasn't a euphemism.
No, but when you watch it in like skateboarders in real life,
yeah,
when they just do like a trick off a bench,
yeah,
it looks amazing.
It literally.
But in the video game, you know, that's just like a basic move. Meanwhile, this guy's been trying to do this for like a year already, and he just did it, nailed it.
Yeah.
So you can't have too much realism, I guess. It'll make it kind of boring. But you don't want to see where it goes to ridiculous, like he just hit a 25-foot jump and then landed on a skateboard. I
think there's a place in the middle ground where something can exist where you pop a move on a bench and it is amazing. But if you did do a 25 feet jump in the air and a spin, it literally would be awe-inspiring. And, you know, if you popped into a jump and then executed a move, as long as it was believable within the game world, I think
if you did it and it took a lot of skill or buttons or, you know, precision, that'd be cool to master.
Well, what about like an RPG game where like you're a 16-year-old and you're starting a small town and you've got like an area you can skate and there's a park, but it's small and you have to kind of level up in an RPG style and then you get entry into like small local competitions. Maybe the story drives you down the route of doing like the Tony Hawk's Open Invitational or some sort of board-related company that's sponsoring the tour comes around. They're doing one in the local, so you go down the skate park, you do a routine. You either do well or you don't, but then that moves you on to the next section and then you go through a career of being a pro skater. I mean,
you know what?
What do I know?
It just takes one developer company to hear this podcast or any other ones you had ideas on and sign you up, bro. That's amazing. I'd buy that game.
Let me check my phone. Zero missed calls.
I'd buy it. 100%.
I live in hope. This is the only reason why we do this show, to get me under the nose of someone. Okay, so we're quite interested in that. Keep your eyes peeled. That's where you heard it here first. Next bit of news. You guys make consoles? Start taking it seriously. Consumers have tried all sorts of tactics to successfully buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox X or S, selling their souls to the devil, summoning circles, refreshing web pages as tears of frustration roll down their cheeks. It's an arduous process due to the issues Sony and Microsoft have had with manufacturing. The component shortage impacting new consoles could also hit Switch this year, though only time will tell in terms of Nintendo's efforts to get hold of materials it needs. Combining those factors with the impressive popularity of the Switch, however, gives the impressive statistic that Nintendo's hardware outsold all new consoles combined in the first quarter of this year. It's not the first time that we've had this sort of news in. It's not the second time we've had this sort of news in. It's probably the 4,000th time we've had this sort of news in. But just hold fire. That's according to a report. That's according to a report issued by Ampere Analysis, highlighting the Switch hardware sales through quarter one at 5.81 million, up 12% on the equivalent period in 2020. PlayStation 5's two iterations sold 2.83 million in the same time. The Xbox X and S at 1.31 million. For the same window. Considering the continually sold out status of PS5 and the Series X, S, little easy to find. We have one here at Unofficial Controller Towers. Wasn't easy to find, but when we did, everything just unlocked. That was directly from Microsoft themselves. So thank you to that. That was a seamless process. It's clear that Sony had a better run at sourcing manufacturing resources at the start of the year. They did. But as the superconductor shortage starts to bite, it filters down through all sorts of things. It's amazing what these semiconductors are in, from commercial vehicles and radios and ECU components in there, to watches, to trucks, to boats, to ships, to planes, to in order of priority. Obviously, as gamers, consoles are right at the top. But to be fair, there's a few superconductors between here and playing a game of Tony Hawk for it to actually be a serious contender at the front of the queue of this shortage. What do you think of this constant savaging by Nintendo? That Switch came out in 2016, if memory serves. Still selling 2.83 million consoles a quarter. What the heck is that all about? No,
Nintendo's,
tell a lie.
They still got it,
5.81. Now, I know a lot of people, it would be interesting if within this, I didn't personally dig into the Ampere analysis, but it would have been interesting to see how many Xbox Ones and PlayStation 4s are also sold within that quarter as well. Because are legacy consoles still being bought? A, because they can't get hold of the current, let's call it next gen, as it's only fresh on our minds. And is that impacting? What are people doing? Are people buying Switches because they can't get hold of Xboxes and PlayStations? This is their third tertiary. I've always wanted one of those. I've got the money spare. I can't get a PlayStation 5 right now. Maybe revisit this at Christmas. I'll get a Switch, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Happy Days. That's
100%. Yeah, because if you can't get what you want, but you have money or something, I mean, Nintendo, it's not a bad product, obviously.
Question though, who doesn't have a Switch right now?
I don't know who doesn't have. Apparently, everyone has one that I know.
A few weeks ago as well, we talked to the news about how how many people of these families have got multiple. We reported that they'd identified that families had bought more than one console.
Yep,
that's absolutely. I was thinking this the other day. I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty.
Oh,
of
I'm
this.
guilty.
There's a light and a normal and another normal kicking around at Unofficial Controller Towers somewhere, and that's like how why?
Yeah.
Why? But there you go. So interesting. All this talk of next gen, and we keep moving things on. No one
they're
wants
gonna have
to
an issue with these next gen games. Since
Nintendo.
everything is Sony and Xbox, right? So all the next gen games that they might have will be postponed or released on this, last gen, because if you having a game on next gen, not enough people have it, then you're going to lose out on sales. So are they going to release it? I mean, how long is it going to go on for? Another year and a half?
I know, and it kind of, let's say you've bought a Series X or a S or a PlayStation 5, disc or discless or whatever. You've bought a next gen machine, no matter which one. I personally feel like for the first generation in a long time, early adopters are getting kicked. Like early adopters always get a kick in.
Yeah.
Right? They've got way too much money. They've got way too much time, and fair play. But normally something comes along within that first 12 months to really make you think, oh, thank goodness I did that. I'm glad I did that. Pat on the back, well done. I got that big game came out. But at the moment, and it stands across both platforms, maybe more in PlayStation's camp than Xbox because they've got a little bit more forward and backward capability and the availability to up and down scale FPSs or frames per second on a whim, whereas PlayStation's a little bit more deeper ingrained where that's not so possible. But patches are coming out and new games that come out seem to get there. Yeah. I think there's been some recent controversy about Biomutant only being 1080p on PlayStation 5 or something, and apparently Returnal's only 1080p at PlayStation 5 and it uses an internal checkerboard rendering process to get it up. Until I stumbled across that nugget, I had no clue. It's smooth as butter. And every time I've looked at a texture on the game, I've thought, that looks great. Yes, it's a little bit more of maybe someone's first stab. At times you're like, it's someone's first stab at this, fair play. But at the same token, there's times where I've been like, agog at it. So,
I mean, if you don't have it on next-gen console, I mean, you're not missing out, I think, as much as if you didn't get a PS4 or Xbox 360.
I think we need to maybe do a show about that. Analyze that first 6 months of the PS4 and Xbox One's life and see if, pull out what we think are the exclusives or the system sellers. I think we'll have to focus on exclusives. Xbox did have some in that window. Rise, Son of Rome, as an example, which I think is an incredible game that's on Games Pass. So I implore everyone to check it out. That game still looks as good as a game that would come out today. You wouldn't even blink. You'd be like, that looks great. So it'd be nice to see how they sold, how they did, how the timeline compares, and what's the road to what we call, if we both agreed to say this exclusive on this platform and this exclusive on this platform is what we think is like the pivotal game that, let's say it's Horizon Zero Dawn and X on Xbox, Forza Horizon, whatever, I'd imagine. How long from launch to that point was it, and what was the timeline between, and what were the notable things that happened in between, and then look at that through the lens of PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and say either panic or don't panic based on the frequency of the games that we've seen. So I think it's a good time for Xbox. I think they're cashing in on the goodwill that they've been riding, so that's great news. Brings some exciting things to the fore, one would imagine. I think that's a rather analytical take on the news that we've had in a while. I honestly was looking for some glasses to put on just to sort of add that extra bit of debonair to my intelligence.
Because it is interesting what's going to happen, what they're going to do.
I think so. Obviously complicated by the pandemic and all that other stuff, but it's not. They can't even go to history and go, what did we do in 2008? Because again, it's totally different. Question. Do you have an opinion or take on the news that we missed? If so, Bobby, how could they get in touch and say, George, that news article about the Nintendo Switch, it wasn't really, you focused on the wrong stat, you dum-dum. Okay? Don't do stats in the news again. We're kind of bored of it. Or if they also want to know why we think that Bam Margera's got, Jess Margera, not Bam Margera, has got some sort of insider knowledge.
Aren't they related?
Let's pretend right now for the show's lore that they're brothers, co-joined as well.
I remember watching, the show Jackass and seeing CKY all the time.
Let's imagine they're all friends. Anyway, Bobby, how would they get in contact and let us know that I'm not safe for public consumption and you've been at the port?
They could find us on Instagram or Twitter at Unofficial Controller Podcast. And in those links, they have a link to the Linktree. They can contact us through DM. They can join a Discord. Or they can email us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com.
What a host of ways to get in contact with your favorite podcast. The Discord, they can make friends with other listeners as well, share interests.
We got 2 new ones.
Really? Yeah. Shout them out now, call it.
Yep. Okay, stand by. I just found out.
This is fantastic news.
Live on air. Here we go. We got Tracer 7
Ah, yes,
Just
Tracer
joined.
7. I did see him. Yeah, well done, Tracer 7. Thank you.
Ben Shapiro. How
And
popular are
Ben
we?
Shapiro.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And we have Fat Zangief. The three
Oh,
newest,
Fat Zangief. Yes.
Yeah, the three newest people.
That's
Not
wonderful.
bad at all.
No, that's wonderful. Come in, make friends with these people, make it beautiful. Stay beautiful. You're beautiful. You're part of the best community on the internet. And do you know what? Never, ever game lonely again. Find the squad up page. Find your new best buddy, your wingman, man that's got your back when everyone else around you's failing. That's where you need to go. Bobby, if I could immortalize my love for you, I would carve you in marble and only make 2 copies. I would write the number on the bottom of them, and I would imagine that they would have some sort of intrinsic value. People want a Bobby statue. Okay. This happens in gaming, but not just in that way. Yes, collectibles are fun, but there's also a myriad of PR and press release. There's that rare bit of merch. There's that game that doesn't really have any intrinsic value at all, but it means a hell of a lot to you. Maybe a childhood game that you've kept. That copy of Harry Potter and the Falafel. Harry Potter and the Falafel. I have no idea what that game is, but imagine it like Overcooked set in Hogwarts. It's amazing.
Imagine.
Yes.
There you go. Another idea.
Boom. Just a small little arcade game. DLC. It's only a downloadable game, but it's a nice little bit of Gryffindor. You work as the cook in the Gryffindor kitchens, in the Hogwarts kitchens. Maybe even just chuck the license at Overcooked and get them to do a rebrand.
Hey, listen. There you go.
Try and deliver you're trying to take it up to the dining hall, but the stairs keep moving as well, and the timer keeps clicking down. You're like, I can't second guess it. And maybe you can get a spell that kind of freezes it so you can get up and deliver the meal, no bother.
Yeah. This is amazing. I'd buy that. I don't even like Harry Potter, and I'd buy that.
Well, that's wonderful. You like Overcooked, though, so I'm preaching to the choir. Anyway, I think that was me trying to let people know that out there is a wonderful world of gaming tat. Now, we hold it dearly. I love a little bit of tat. I love a steelbook. I love a statue. I love a limited edition. Because when the normal editions die, do you know what? You're left with nothing. But with the limited edition, you're left with at least a postcard.
Yeah.
Or a lenticular sleeve. Which adds no value or usability, but you know what? Shiny.
Yeah.
So anyway, this week's feature, another community piece, because we love passing the microphone over to you guys, is your coolest piece of gaming. I don't know what gaming is. We'll find out at some point in time, no doubt. Your coolest piece of gaming memorabilia. Bobby's chuckling. Looks like Eva's tickling his feet. As always, we ask you guys your thoughts on the topic and have interwoven those into the feature. Bobby, lots of people have got in touch. Tell me, who's first out the post bag?
We got the redheaded stepchild himself, Ginger's Game Room.
Oh, no.
That's not the first one.
No, there's one above that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how I missed that. I probably zoomed in too much and didn't go all the way
I think
up.
there was a lot too much zooming.
There you go. Yeah, I missed the whole. Okay, I see it. We got TVG TLS. I think he might be a new listener. I'm not sure.
He is a new
listener.
I actually think it might be a podcast. I'm not sure. I think it is a podcast. When I checked up on him, it's called the Video Game Timeline Show. I haven't checked it out, but I need to. So I'll add it to my list.
Timeline us. That'd be cool.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it? The different eras.
Yeah,
they'd be busy, wouldn't they?
They would.
What did they write in to tell us it was their favorite piece of gaming memorabilia?
So he has a press kit from Batman Arkham Knight. It comes in this ultra futuristic box, including a spy pen, playing cards, an art book, and the game, of course. That's cool.
That sounds really cool.
Press kits are cool.
I love a press kit.
They're super limited, but they're cool.
I've had my eye on a couple, for ages now, and they just haven't sold. I'm not going to tell you what, because everyone will run off and buy it.
100%.
But it's the right price, and I keep waiting. It's in a situation where you can make offers, and I make an offer, and I don't even get a response.
Really?
When they buy it now, it's like, oh, come. It's only £20 more than the offer that you were actually been offering. But I don't know. I looked the other day at the amount of tat that I've got, and it was like, ooh, something's going to have to slow down here. Something's because the rate that these PS5 games are coming out. There's another one like, oh God, put it on the pile of shame. We talk about not having any games, but Ratchet and Clank will be out in a heartbeat, and then boom, we're still playing through Returnal. We've got Resident Evil 8. I've still got Valhalla begging me to finish it, but I'm like, no, Eivor, you can do one. You're annoying, little germ of a man. Planet Coaster, Sackboy, there's loads. There's me playing PS3 all day, and I've already got a backlog on PS5 that most people would give a kidney for. So,
yeah.
My son and heir's next out the post bag. Let's see what the boy's been up to. He says, I own the press release copy of Crash Bandicoot, but my pride and joy, oh, sir, is my 20th anniversary PS4. It's a real beaut. Only 12,300 globally, I believe. Absolutely. That's a fantastic thing to own. That's the grey one, I think, isn't it? From memory with the 12,300 globally. Yeah, I know a couple of people that have got them. One of the people that I know that's got them has absolutely kicked the wheels out of it. It's been like his daily driver been his daily driver PS4. And this thing's like on death's door. Whatever. Boxed, mint complete, that's probably worth £4,000. But what you got to weigh up is, has he had fun with it?
Yeah.
He has.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it ends up in the bin, he's had his time. Oh my goodness gracious me.
Here we go.
Why did I?
This is probably one of the coolest things anyone's going to have in their collection.
Let me clear my throat. Boboloba doesn't just do gaming comments. Boboloba does the finest gaming comments podcasts can buy. I've got an extremely limited edition PS2. In actual fact, it's a very ordinary silver PS2. However, it was once owned by Lord Thomas of Retro Gamer. Fire emoji. His recent acquisition of the earldom of Retro Gamer has shot up the tat that shovels out the gamer shed at a rate of knots that would embarrass the QE2 with a trailwind. I tell you what, he needs to now acquire himself a property fit of a lord. I'm thinking 13-bedroom country estate somewhere.
Easy.
The Retro Gamer estate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Talking of estates.
100%.
I finished Downton Abbey.
Ooh, really?
7 seasons plus the film. Don't get in my way. I will mow you down.
They're an hour long?
Yes.
How many episodes?
9 per season.
Okay. Movie's 2 hours?
Yeah.
So 66 hours?
70 hours of...
Something like that. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
The thing about things like that is they're easier to consume. I was thinking about remote play, and I used to love remote play on the Vita.
Mm-hmm.
But now I don't have the option to remote play through the Vita on the PS5. I'm not particularly enamored with taking a DualSense, which to me is still quite an expensive bit of kit, in a bag.
Yeah, no.
And the phone. And like, nah. Like, I know ultimately a Vita is more expensive than a DualSense, but to me, the DualSense feels more expensive. The PSP was built to be carried around and kicked in a bag, or the Vita was built to be carried around and kicked in a bag. The DualSense was built to be left charging on a bedside or
100%,
a sideboard.
In a drawer.
In a drawer and picked up and played. Not kicked around in a bag. So I'm not, when they're still, $70 a controller?
Yeah, man.
Like,
I'm not carrying that anywhere.
No, me neither.
Up next, we got Rye _stars.
This guy's a legend.
From Resident Evil Stars. STARS.
We've not seen him in the comments for a while, but welcome back, Rye Stars. It's good to see you. He's got something sexy here. What's he got?
He's got probably my David Hayter signed copy of Metal Gear Solid 2. That was a good day.
That was one hell of a day.
That sure was.
Oh, it's me again. Oh, no. And then War and Peace with a slight update on the romance, which I've got an opinion on. I'm going to wade in on. I think C. Pliskin needs to pull on his gloves and he needs to fight for deep sea doodles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. Bada bing retro gaming. My most precious item is a Marvel vs. a Capcom 2, one of the best fighting games ever made. In my opinion, I don't have the Dreamcast. I have the PS2 one. It's a flag that everyone stand for the emotion, for the national anthem. So everybody sit down now, sir. Trophy emoji. You, me, winner. They, winner, sir. You, sir, winner. And a generic controller emoji. So no console voice, sir. Anything here we are all friends, sir. Pour yourself a wine. Grab yourself an olive, my friend. Sit down. Indulge yourself in Italian culture.
Oh my God.
Ciao. Ciao.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's... I'm slowly finding the craft within my own voice to reimagine him.
Yeah.
Wonderful, man.
It is. He is.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2, one of the best fighting games ever made. I don't have the Dreamcast copy. I only have the PS2 one. To be fair with you, I reckon the PS2 can handle that reasonably well.
Yeah, it does. It looks really nice.
And it's pretty hard to get hold of on the Dreamcast these days. It's one of those titles that's spiked in price. So if you could, I don't know what it is on PS2. It's probably even more money on there. I was looking at some PS2 titles in my collection the other day, and I was astounded at the price. It's getting ridiculous. I never thought PS2 would get ridiculous. PS2 is getting ridiculous.
They're all going to get ridiculous. What happens is you have these YouTube guys that top 5 rare games.
Yeah.
And then they ruin it for everybody. You know? That's why, for me, listen, I have all physical copies of PS1. I have a lot of games. I don't know how many, but I have a lot. But I have them all emulated as well. So I would never buy a PS1 game again. And if I can emulate a PS2, well, I'm in there.
You can do that. I don't know if you've got a Mac, so I don't know if you can on that, but I'm sure you
feel
can.
like playing or buying a PS2 game for $400. When I can another $100 more, I can get a PS5 or an Xbox.
True. I never thought of it like that. There's 3 games on PSP that are in that market, and I want them, but I don't want them that much. And there's a game on PS1 that I need that's that value, and I don't need it that much, but I do really want it. I
remember how stupid I am. I had this game, this horror game, something Rose.
Oh, Rule of Rose. I
had it. I didn't like it. I let my friend borrow it. Never saw it again. This game is $700 now.
I know. The only problem with Rumble Rose is you were right in your initial reaction. It isn't very good.
It's really not. But, no. I could have had it. But, it is what it is. I'm definitely not going to buy it back. That's for sure. See ya.
I'd go around his ass and demand it. He probably traded it for something like COD.
He was the kind of kid that came to your house and he had I don't know. He couldn't play a game for a long time. So he just kept popping games in and out. So when you went to his house to play a game, nothing was in the right box.
Oh God!
Yeah, one of those kids. That's who took it. So that game is gone in the wild. Some kid probably got it for like 2 cents in a thrift store. Who knows?
My goodness gracious me! Right, what's next out the post bag, friend?
We got the Dale Mills,
a legend.
He says, "I have some Pac-Man instant noodles." And he writes, ha, 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 ha.
Thing is, he does. And he actually tagged the show in as he uploaded the picture of his actual his actual noodles. It was fantastic to see.
That's cool.
They're legit. Dale used to work with Tingle Tuna in the Lincoln Games Store. So
okay.
I don't know whether he picked it up through that or on his travels, because Dale's got some really cool stuff that he's collected.
That is cool.
Yeah. Up next, C. Pliskin. Let's get through this. Okay. Very unusual but interesting topic. I'm not so much of a collector of wild antiquities myself, still being the mostly broke college kid that I am. But if I had to give some general stuff that I do have, it's actually a couple of things from back in my teenage years, mainly my previous interest in Assassin's Creed and Uncharted related items. Around the release of the Ezio collection in 2016, I found myself in a bit of a renaissance with games I played in the series from 2 up until the release of 4. I think you Saw the best of that. And I actually bought the only physical special edition directly off Ubisoft's store page. That's not really anything to it, minus some concept in the game itself, a physical soundtrack containing the best of Ezio's various soundtracks, as well as a bust of Ezio himself in his Assassin's Creed 2 robes with red and black recolor to it. For Uncharted, I convinced my mother when I was turning 16 to get the special edition of Uncharted 4. I have it myself, sir. Very good. For my upcoming birthday. It too was interesting, given the inclusion of a special case alongside a concept art booklet, steel cover game case with original art drawn by artists from Naughty Dog, by Dark Horse Comics, I think. One thing I'd say about that steelbook tin that came with that Uncharted, do you have that one, or have you got the standard edition?
No, regular.
You see that steelbook on Instagram sometimes. It's black.
It's really beautiful.
It is. It's an unusual art style, but it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
He carries on, he says, as well as numerous Naughty Dog and in-game iconography stickers. But I think my actual favourite has to be the mini Nathan Drake pop. That I found at my first ever Comic-Con in Dublin. That's a nice thing to bring home. It was the only thing I bought at the convention when I was still early 16, I believe, but I think it still sticks with me, not only with it being a piece of my on-off interesting conventions, but also actually being limited edition, given how my version of the figure actually has a mini ND paw print on his shirt, which I like. Nice. Not the best collection compared to others. Stories you'd likely hear in this episode, but you might be surprised. I'm sure they're all nice little novelties from back in the day and just a little unrelated thing, he says. This is really what everyone tuned in for. The previous comment, yeah, okay, he's got some collectibles. This is what people tuned in for. This is the ongoing love story in the comments. He says, and just a small unrelated thing. I want to clear up quickly from last week. Me and my artist friend, who I talk about a lot on this show, aren't actually dating. Bombshell. We're really close friends, but she's with someone else, and I still see her as a great friend either way. Sorry for making you think otherwise. No, we came to that assumption, C. Pliskin. But I think what you both need to ask yourselves is, you're so engaged with each other, tagging each other in the comments to this show, talking about things that you're going to do together. I never hear her mention this other guy that she has absolutely nothing in common with. I wonder if as time passes us by, this sort of multiplayer Wii vibe they've got going on, there's something there. If I was Deep Sea Doodle's boyfriend, I would be concerned because C. Pliskin, not only is he good looking, he's an auteur, right? And he can play video games.
And he's a musician.
And he's an actor.
Yeah.
He's got his finger in.
And he's a writer.
And he's a writer. Okay? Not only does he write his own words, he acts his own words. He is his own words. Deep Sea Doodles, let me ask you, think deep down in this thought. You spent a lot of time with him over the years. Why is that? No, you're not just friends. Look at him again. Ask yourself what that feeling is. That feeling's love. Act on it. Act on it.
Do it.
Do it. His last comment where he's like probably dying of embarrassment. He's crimson red now. Him and Deep Sea Doodles looking at each other like, oh my God, this is awkward. I'm sorry for making you think otherwise. It's fine. We'll move on. No pressure. Don't bring it up again. Who's next in the post back, friend?
We got another Lord.
The
Lord of Eternal Darkness. Harvey Retro.
I'm not being funny, Lord Thomas of Retro Gamer, but Retro Gamer's quite small compared to combined Total Darkness, which, spreads across the universe. One would imagine Harvey Retro, slightly larger estate, doing slightly better for himself.
Yeah. Also, he's been around a lot longer as a Lord. I mean,
that's why I think that's why.
Really what it is.
He's had time.
Over time, he has grown his wealth. 300 something years, I would have a big house too. He says,
I'd be a tramp.
What's that?
A hobo.
Oh, I mean, I would just live in one of his rooms. That's fine. I don't need money.
Okay.
Yeah. He says, I would love to say a signed copy of Tomb Raider 2 because Johan_Trash Tapes and I have met Judith Gibbons, the voice of Laura in 2 and 3, but neither of us had anything. On us. We are fools. A crying emoji. I haven't actually got anything too special, but the collector's edition of BioShock 2 with the vinyl of the vintage music CD of the score, and a hardback art book is a nice piece. Interested to hear what treasures others have though, with like a up eyes smiley emoji.
That BioShock 2 with the vinyl. I've gone on record and I've said this several times. The story of BioShock 1 and 3 is probably slightly better, but the gameplay in the game that is BioShock 2 is great. The music would be nice. I would love to have that on vinyl. I bet that sounds incredible.
Harvey has a dope collection of vinyl.
He does.
As is.
The man's got...
That's another right in there.
He ended up with like... There were some human beings that were born absolute nerds, but why they were born nerds is because Harvey Retro siphoned off their cool at birth.
Yeah.
He has that now.
Yeah.
Now, he has thousands of people's worth of cool. He
100%.
raises an eyebrow, a million women fall in love with him. I tell you, Sophie Blackwood is one lucky woman. To be honest with you, to imagine myself as her, being that close to a Lord of Darkness,
I know.
in possible intimate moments, to be honest with you, I'm losing control of the lower half of my body, and I'm not even painted that way.
Wouldn't be the first time. You know, sometime when you see somebody and you're like, dude, I want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah.
That's Harvey.
And the thing is as well, he raises it a level every time because boom, there's Johan, there's Greg. They come as a trifecta.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I feel like I'm getting my fill.
When you have pizza and you eat it with a fork and knife, you're going to get slapped. But when you're Harvey and you want to eat pizza with a fork and knife, nobody bats an eye.
Probably just looks and growls at people, but it's one of those sort of like weird exorcist type growls. It's like, oh, that came from a place that no human recognizes.
100%.
Before we conjure up a dark spirit in the podcast, infect people's cars and make them plunge off the road at over 80 miles an hour, if that's just happened, okay, stay still. The emergency service have been contacted. Remain seated in the vehicle, if safe to do so. If not, exit the vehicle to the roadside and make your way up to a safe area away from the road. Take your phone with you so we can keep listening to the podcast. That's right. Climb free of the wreckage. You're on your own. No need to worry. Do you take the bag? No, don't. There's a semi coming up behind you.
Yeah.
Start making for the hill. Okay.
Facts.
The car, if it's new enough, it's rang the police. If it's not, you better do that now. Pause the show. Welcome back. They're on the way. It's only superficial cuts and grazes. Who's in the post bag next, Bobby?
Yeah, Daddy Zilla, 80.
Yes!
Yes.
Ah, man, the muscle. What's he got to say?
One of the coolest things in my collection is my gold PS4 that I won from Taco Bell. How dope is that, bro?
You know, he just slays Daddy Zilla. He's a great father. Got a beautiful wife. He's got it all going on at home. I know he's been very busy with his new job, but he's never not out of our thoughts. I hope he's well. He's got a gold PS4. I'd love to know a bit more about that. I might do some research off it. I don't know whether it was like a rebuild or whether it was like a leaf paint, a gold leaf paint on, or whether it was a respray that Taco Bell did, or whether they got it chromed to gold or what. I don't know, but I would love to know more. Is it reflective or is it just like matte finish?
Hashtag Stingray boot.
Boom. Done. Solved.
No, done.
It's almost like we created that hashtag so we could look at people's tat. Okay. Up next. Tingle Tuna.
Well, I'll do this one because you could read, the Lord.
I don't have a voice for him, do I? Or do I?
I don't. You know what? No. So it doesn't matter.
Either way, I'm cool. Okay, I'll take Tingle Tuna. Okay, not Tingle Turner. And previously Edno and Misner, as you would call him.
Oh, it is Tuner. My bad.
It is Tuna. No, I called him Turner when I did a solo show. And then I felt really bad because he messaged in and was like, it's not Turner. And I looked again and was like, it's not, is it? Such an idiot. He's so kind. He's so kind to us as well. It's another Zelda reference, I think. Just for you. Anyway, he says, my most precious item in the collection are a couple of Game Boy Micro consoles picked up many years ago when nobody wanted them. I remember that as well. I got a silver one that cost me £20, an imported Famicom edition that came from PlayAsia for 40. To have that now for 40, you'd be loving. They go for much more now. Absolutely, and are quite sought after. Owning them is bittersweet, though. Although the screen is excellent, this is one of the problems with the Game Boy Micro. A lot of people overlook the button layout is cramped. It's possibly the worst way to play Game Boy Advance games. Laughing till I cry emoji. But in reality, I've realized that my life with the Game Boy Micro isn't that great. So I've got sad face crying emoji.
Yeah, I don't understand. Why would you want to play something that's so crammed in your hand?
It's got a great function.
Why would you want an inch screen?
The form function's cool. When I first saw one, I was like, wow. But maybe not for a grown-up. Maybe for a kid, be amazing. For a grown-up hand placement, it's tough.
What about you, man?
What's my favorite piece of gaming tech?
Yeah, what do you got?
Got all sorts of weird stuff.
Name a couple.
Not that it's got any value. I've got a press copy of Last of Us for PS3, obviously.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I've got some other press release copies as well. I can't remember what I've got, but I've got one of those. The thing is, I've picked stuff up that I don't attach much value to because I've picked them up for not very much money, so I don't really look at them. When other people come and look at the tat that I've got, they're like, "Oh my god, you've got this!" I'm like, "Oh, it's like 20 quid. I think it's not like nothing that sexy." And they're like, "Do you know how much this is worth?" I'm like, no, and I don't. Although I know that some of my games have gone up in value, and that's wonderful. I don't personally plan on selling any of my tat. So it's going to be something that someone's going to inherit and probably have to work through to get the money out of it. I don't know. But I've enjoyed collecting it. There's games like Africa I picked up not that long ago that I've always wanted. And yes, it was a little pricey for what it was, but I'm glad to have it in the collection. There's games that I have like value for, like nostalgic memories for, like my copy of F-19 that I had as a kid, or I've got some Personas that have got value to them. There's loads of like weird tat that I've picked up that I've always wanted to get, like the Resident Evil controller for the PS1 and the G-Con and one of the things that spurred me on when the PS5 came out and we played Astrobot. And, you get all the peripherals in that center room that you can look at and go through. I went through and was like, okay. Now, there were lots of things in there I'd had.
Yeah.
But there were some things and a lot of things that I have actually got in the collection. But that was one of the first times where I thought to myself, there's a definitive list, really, of what Sony think is some of the big things in their history. Mm-hmm. So if you are going to have
about it like that. That's smart.
if you're going to have a collection that encompasses everything that they've done over the years, do you need a broadband adapter for the PS2? I would argue yes. Like the chances of you using it, slim to none. But the actual point of it being something of their technological evolutionary journey, yeah. It's like when I saw the in the ceiling, when you get further on in the game, you unlock the PS4 VR gun, and you also unlock the Move controller PS Move holders that turn them into guns. I thought to myself, I don't have those either. But they are a significant part of the evolutionary step to take you from point A, which was the pistol VR adapted or PS Move gun, to the VR full-on Farpoint gun, which is woefully underutilized. If you ask for me, for my opinion, you come to a podcast where me and Bobby talk, so no doubt you are looking for our opinion on it. So here it is. We gave you it. But yeah, so and it's things like that I've kind of like nursed along and wanted. Like I'd really like to reunite myself with my PlayStation 1 fold-up LCD screen that bolts on the back. I have no practical use for it, but I had one back in the day. I've seen it's in that collection. I want it. It's not just games, it's physical attributes and things. I've got some collector's editions and stuff that I wouldn't say are rare or anything to cry home about, but I get value out of the smaller things. I like to see a really pristine every man's edition of a game that's you go to any store in any world or any thrift store and there's a copy of whatever game that is. Let's say it's Grand Theft Auto 3 as an example. Millions and millions and millions of that copy of that game were made. It's worth 25 cents all day long, even with a gun to your head, no more. But when you find a copy of that that's barely been played, the disc is immaculate, the book is it's never had a leaf turned, a page turned in there. It's been bought and stored. The sleeves never move, so it's clean. It's never been stored on a shelf with other games, so there aren't the little micro scratches in the case, and it just looks like something you brought home from GameStop yesterday. You know, I like to see stuff like that as well, like really sort of everyday stuff, but stuff that looks like it's new. When I get a game home, I do try and clean it to try and buff the scratches out if I can, not of the disc, but of the actual box. I'm bonkers. Remove the stickers so it looks like new stock that arrived in a shop that day as if they were opening tomorrow. That's where I try and get every game that I've got to. It's not always possible, and I have as much love for those things that I've worked on as like my Mega Drive. I did the 50-60 hertz switch mod too. Very easy if you're listening now and like, oh, I don't know, that sounds a bit scary to me. If you can solder a blob and you can cut a wire, you can do this mod. It's not difficult. If anyone even wants help being taught through it, I'll do it. But to me, that's also really cool because I took that from a PAL system to a system that can play a game from anywhere with the flick of a switch. That's got value to me as well. That's like my most favorite bit of gaming memorabilia tat. If it's just down to memorabilia, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Sacred Symbols show, and I've supported Colin since he separated off on himself, and I've got a load of I supported him to the highest level, and I've got a load of individually handwritten to me postcards from Colin Moriarty as well, which is
really,
which I value. I know some people like he's not for everybody, but I value his opinion and I like the way he talks about video games. I think it's well done, and his show is quality. If you're listening to this, you would enjoy that, one would imagine. But yeah, that sort of stuff, that means a lot to me as well. Like little things that get lost in the way, you know, like just tat, but those aren't tat, but you catch my meaning. I like all sorts of weird stuff, magazines and cheap booklets, and, you know, where does it start and stop? So I don't know. Here's a man that's got a collection that rivals anyone's, possibly one of the best collections, featured in Retro Gamer magazine. That's why he has the accolade Retro Gamer Thomas. That's what he was known as before he was lifted in status. But it's Lord Thomas of Retro Gamer. He writes in, he says, that's a hard one, really. As far as consoles, I'd probably say my Amiga CD32. It was donated to me from an old friend. It's not the best CD-based system by a long shot. It's pretty much an Amiga 1200 with no floppy drive, but it's the memories of that system. Back in the day, my mate, who was sadly no longer with us, had one. Seeing games on CD blew me away. I was still on Mega Drive, so to see a CD system was amazing. Every time I look at it, I always remember him. I have some pretty special things which mean a lot for me. For instance, my big box Super Metroid, my Mint CIB complete in box Mega Man X on SNES, my Nights into Dreams box set with 3D controller. Oh, I've got that. You see, I don't value any of the tat that I've got. The problem. He says, my gold Sonic Hedgehog coin, only 1,000 worldwide. I've got a coin in a Sonic 2 limited edition set from Japan. Again, I never have really attached any value to that either. Plus my amazing bar top arcade that my gorgeous wife, Donna, had built for me as my surprise Xmas present. That is a phenomenal thing for Donna to have done. Or my complete Sega trading cards. I don't know about these. You better let me know about those, RGT. There's also items like my cards from George for me and Donna. Oh, that's really sweet. There's me harping on about cards, Sacred Symbols, and there's a man putting equally as much love into that. And he goes on, he says, all the incredible artwork, Comic Pictures 79 has done for me. Plus, I'm not ashamed to say I have my Retro Gamer mag. We've hit the trifecta here. Every single one he's hit.
That's it.
I should read these comments before I move them into the script more often, I think. Plus, I'm not ashamed to say, blah, blah. There's lots of items I could mention, but overall, I would probably have to say my game shed is my holy grail. I always wanted a games room with everything set up like a console arcade for friends to come round and have some great gaming days and evenings, of which there has been some very memorable nights. What happens in the game shed stays in the game shed. Laughing till I cry emoji. Maybe that's one day we'll have a confessional, the darkest tales of the... No names, no pat drills, of course, but names have been changed to protect identities. So to finally achieve that was incredible. Yeah, I nearly gave it all up and was going to sell my collection, but I didn't. And boy, am I glad I didn't. It's enabled me to be in a magazine and to get involved in a podcast and meet so many new friends, all with the same hobby. It's been a life changer. I'm never proud of myself for anything I do, but this time I do look at the shed and the hundreds of hours that have gone into it and think, yeah, well done, fella. Good job. Mostly that's all down to you guys and girls in the Discord and podcast for showing an interest, liking the transformation, and giving me help along the way. Thank you. Hopefully you can all come and visit in person one day, praying to the stars themselves. Emoji.
Yeah. That's cool. I have his magazine on a piece of plastic. Wrap that bad boy out.
Mine's in the upstairs part of the collection. Maybe I should frame it. His little proud little face in the bottom right. You little bugger. As always, eloquence and beauty from RGT. Oh, sorry, Lord Thomas of Retro Gamer.
Mm-hmm.
Who's next out of that post bag?
Noah Battori.
I think
good.
they're a
new listener. I own an original model Sega Genesis and almost every Sonic game on it. I'm missing 2 of them, Sonic and Knuckles, and a very obscure Sonic puzzle game called Sonic Eraser. The rest of the mainline Sonic games I do own. I also own some other Genesis games such as NBA Jam, Super Highlid, Mortal Kombat 2, Jurassic Park, Lotus 2, and a few others. NBA Jam was great.
I've never come across Sonic Eraser before.
I never even heard of it. Never heard of it.
Exclusive release in Japan. It was part of the Sega Mega Modem pack. So probably quite hard to get hold of if it did get a physical release. So that's an interesting one. I'm glad that you brought it to our attention. Looks like a little Tetris type game, really, but NBA Jam's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's like weird normal games like that I've got like really, if I ran into the building, I'd probably grab NBA Jam.
Yeah.
I'd leave like a 32X. I'm not bothered. NBA Jam is a great game. I don't care if it doesn't look great, maybe necessarily so on the Genesis or whatever. I think it looks good on there, to be honest, but what do I know? Last 2 visits to the post bag. First postcard out. It's Finster Gamer. He says, I have a lot. I like the way he's adopted this word into his own vocabulary. I have a lot of Resident Evil tat. And there was a time I used to buy the special edition versions of each Assassin's Creed game as they came out. It's easy to be on that train. You know, it's very hard to get off. But my favorite will always be the BioShock 2 Collector's Edition. Hang on a minute. With the posters, art book, and vinyl soundtrack. Vince the Gamer and Harvey Retro cut from the same cloth.
I'm telling you.
So far what we've learned is the BioShock 2 Collector's Edition is for collectors with a very high taste of class.
Definitely.
It's very easy to get into a franchise that you like and end up just sucking up tat for it. You would not believe the amount of Minecraft-themed tat that came into my house during the recording of the How To Minecraft series. I had everything.
I'm sure, bro. It can be like that.
It's easy to do it.
It is.
Just the last but not least out the post bag, who have we got?
The Gaming Graham.
Wow.
He says, I don't really have any collector's items or anything like that. However, I'm really proud of my copy of Wrestle Kingdom 2 on the PS2. It's a game I wanted to get my hands on for years, but I've always been put off by the fact that it's in Japanese and, would have to be imported from Japan. This year, though, I finally bit the bullet and bought it from a seller in Osaka on eBay. Not only was it relatively cheap, but it came in amazing condition. It literally looks brand new. As a huge gamer and wrestling fan, knowing I have Wrestle Kingdom 2 in my collection makes me super happy. The game itself is really fun to play, even if navigating the menus is a tad tricky, with the laughing till I cry.
There's three bits of wonderful information in there. I've played Japanese wrestling games. Like, good luck with that. You don't know what match you're going into from 1 minute to the next. You think you're putting yourself in a hardcore Hell in the Cell match and end up in a bra and panties with Mr. McMahon. Secondly, everything that Japanese people buy gaming-wise and sell secondhand that I've obtained from Japan has looked brand new. The respect that they show their most things. It's very stereotypical in a very generalization. I'm sure there's people in Japan that don't look after things, and I'm sure there's people that really do. But the medium and the average boils down to people that really do. And if you want to buy something from Japan on the internet, if you're happy with the description and you've seen it in the photos, I guarantee it will turn up looking like that or better.
Yeah,
I've
100%.
never had a duff steer from Japan. Absolutely brilliant. And thirdly, just a standard copy of a game. But that's what it's about. It's about what brings you happiness. It's about what brings you satisfaction. If that's been a coveted item for his for damn near a decade, getting it home doesn't make it any less more important to you. If you know, I would argue that a copy of Wrestle Kingdom 2 imported from Japan itself in mint condition is more interesting than than another Ezio bust. You know?
Yeah.
So
it's true.
With that all said and done, hang on a minute. Did we ask you what your favorite bit of tap was?
I mean, I have like, most standard, collector's items, the God of War statue.
Let me tell you my favorite piece.
Stuff like that.
That you have that I think is absolutely exquisite and would love to get hold of myself. The Joker TV statues, the diorama.
Oh, yeah. That came with Arkham Origins. So I have all the Arkham, all 4 games, all the collector's editions. I have them all.
The one with the Batarang?
I have that too. It came with like a book. Yeah. Well, it's Batman, so I'm buying it. It doesn't make a difference. I would love to buy things I really have an interest in. I'll buy the collector's edition for it. Mm-hmm. But I'm running out of room. So now I'm picking and choosing. When I bought that Streets of Rage 4 collector's edition, I love that thing. That thing is massive. Yeah. So it's just sitting next to my dresser.
Well, I really wanted the Death Stranding one. I thought that was reasonable, but it is huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
And if I'd got that, what the hell would I have done with it?
Yeah, so it's just basically now back in the box. Because where am I going to put it? I put it out. I liked it. I put it back in the box. So like standard stuff like that I have. Nothing really special. I got 2 custom PS4 controllers that I got painted. That's about it. But probably my father's NES and the 30 games he had, I have that. That's probably the most special.
That's nice. That's nice.
I got my stepfather bought me his first game was NHL 94. He bought it for me. I have that because we played 93 together, and I would beat him. But then he started practicing when I was at school. So he got really good. We had good matches, and he got me 94. And then he accused me of cheating all the time because he said I would pull out the plug. Meanwhile, no, he did that to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would pull out the plug and then hold me down and try to score. And he could hold me down with one arm. He was a massive man. Well, he still is, and he just held me down. And I'm a skinny kid. Like, what am I gonna do? Get out of that? No. And he would score a goal, and then it would be tie. Put my controller back in the Sega, and then play again. So we did that. I have that, but that's probably the most memorable thing I got for the Nintendo games, really. Because everything else, I'm not a collector.
No.
So things I just have just become part of the collection.
I think I don't think anyone starts out being a collector. Especially with video games or movies, especially, you acquire the physical media. And the good thing about it is film posters are amazing. Game box cases are amazing. They're art in themselves. So
yeah. Well, I know someone who this guy plays very few games, but you would think he, is the upcoming heir to sort of Lord of Retro Gamer, because he has so much stuff. He doesn't play them. He just buys them.
I tell you what, it's super easy to acquire stuff. Like I said, I've been a little bit swamped lately. I've not been at home, so I've not been gaming in the usual way. And then those games you pre-ordered years ago drop on the mat, and it's like, oh no. Oh no. What's another one? Yeah, another parcel for you here, boy. What's this? More games, oh no.
But that's the thing too. Like, someone was looking for a copy of like Baldur's Gate. And that's not, is it the greatest game? No, I mean, it's enjoyable. But to somebody, that fun. Game means the world to him for whatever reason. So for him to get that copy, you're like, okay, whatever, it's a game. But you have games that I'm sure close to your heart that he's telling the same story.
Someone's probably got 30 copies of NFL 2K5. But to me, when I finally got in NFL 2K5 back in the collection, I'm not really an athletic guy. I try and look after myself, but I certainly can't do a backflip. I would have performed the backflip.
Yeah.
I was that excited.
No, it's amazing.
Talking of excitement, what's he been up to this week?
What's he been up to this week?
You know, we've finished the feature. Who's next in the door?
Listen, I haven't seen him, man. I don't know where he's been hiding.
I don't know what he's been up to, but all I know,
sneaky, that's for sure.
He's got a boot full. It's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot. Here he comes. I can hear him now. What's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend all this week? These are the new release highlights for the week May 10th to May 16th. I don't know if that's right. I feel like I didn't change that from last week. Of course, I didn't. It was from the 17th to the 23rd. These games will be out. Listeners, these are on digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but could be region dependent. Springs, wow, wow, pop, swizzle. He's out the car. He's pulling hard on a Lambert. Yes, that's a real game. Yes, that's a real game. I'll go first. An airport for aliens currently run by dogs, coming for the PC and Xbox Series X May 25th. An airport for aliens currently run by dogs is an open world comedy adventure game. Talk to stock photo dogs, solve their problems, catch your flight, and call it Dog Airport Game when you get tired of saying the full title, like I did 3 months ago. They wrote that blurb. Incredible artistry. I'm going to say 2 out of 10. Book me on a plane and get me as far away from an airport run by aliens for dogs as you can get me.
Yeah, really.
What's next out the boot?
That seems pretty interesting. Biomutant for PC, PS4, Xbox One.
This looks great, but there's been a hell of a hoo-ha for the PS5 players who are upgrading from PS4. I think it's all good on Xbox One, and there's a patch coming apparently. I'm semi-interested by the game. I don't know about you. But...
Yeah, the first time I heard about it was when someone complained about it being 1080, and I'm not sure why they were complaining. I don't know. Biomutant is an open-world, post-apocalyptic Kung Fu Fable RPG with a unique martial arts-style combat system, allowing you to mix melee, shooting, and mutant ability action.
3 out of 5. Watch this biomutate you into a fun but enjoyable post-apocalyptic Kung Fu Fable RPG. I don't know. Go with it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's generic enough. King of the Seas, PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, May 25th. King of Seas is an action role-playing game set in a procedural pirate world. An epic adventure awaits you in fantastic world dotted with fights, lost islands and treasures. A universe that will keep you anchored as you struggle to become the king of all pirates. That's going to get like a 3 out of 5. And I think the blurb goes something along the lines of this. Got an Xbox and Games Pass? Stick with Sea of Thieves. Been slightly pirate curious over on PS4 or Switch? Grab yourself King of Seas. Arr!
That's awesome. Maneater for the Switch, May 25th. Experience the ultimate power fantasy as the apex predator of the seas. A giant shark. Terrorize the coastal waterways, tear swimmers and divers limb from limb, give the humans a reason to fear you. And then play Jaws. I don't know. 8 out of 10.
The scale is 1 to 5. Bobby's giving it 8.
You were doing 10s.
Did I?
Yes.
No, the only 10s I've ever done is intense.
You just said 3 out of 10. King of Seas. I promise you.
In that way, I meant 3 out of 5. He deserved a lot more than 3 out of 10.
So this is going to be 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Brilliant. Maneater. The game that Bobby doesn't know is his favourite game, and yet sat on his drive and he refuses to play it. But when he does, he'll be happy. Either now or in 2050 when he gets around to it. Up next, Very, Very Valet on the Switch, May 25th. Very, Very Valet or Valet is a madcap co-op party game. All drivers welcome. 1 to 4 players is a valet. 1 to 4 players control an elite team of puppet valets working together to overcome any and all valet-related challenges. It's going to take teamwork and a certain just park it anywhere mentality to save the world from a severe parking crisis. It's not enough to be a valet. Be a very, very valet. I would say that gets 2 out of 10. Mindlessly felt like I drove around a car park.
See?
Just about now found a space.
2 out of 10. You just said it.
2 out of 10.
2 out of 5, you mean.
I'm not just letting you down. I'm letting me down. And most of all, I'm letting the fans down who are very invested in this rate and scale new take of the boot. Even Stingray enjoys it. You know, I see him smile earlier.
We got Ambition. I read that as mullet a few times. Ambition, a munet of power.
I think that's a minuet.
Minuet.
Yes.
Might be French.
I believe it is.
PC, May 26th. Oui. Oh, look at the 18th century Paris.
Ah, monsieur, bonjour, ça va?
A city of love, lies, and revolution. You're a woman of fashion trying to survive a political turmoil. Date a cast of unforgettable characters, amass the wealth and respect you deserve. Engage in gossip that can alter the course of history or lead you to the guillotine. That sounds interesting. I give it a 3 out of 5. I don't know. I want to do something with fancy, but I don't have the I'm not smart enough to do something clever like you. Devil Wears Prada, something like that. I don't know. I was thinking
Ambition,
about that.
a minuet in power, 2 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
The upper classes have upset you. Drag this game down, slap it in a guillotine, defame its ancestry, and move on to Pathway on the Switch. May 27th, explore the strange unknown with Pathway, a strategy adventure set in the 1930s Great Wilderness. Unravel a long and forgotten mysteries of the occult, raid ancient tombs, and outwit your foes in turn-based squad combat. That ticked every single one of your boxes until the words turn-based squad combat came out. That's why they put them last. One thing I'd say about this, that sounds amazing.
It sounds really good. It really does.
5 out of 5.
Really?
That's what. Look, we can give it whatever we want. 5 out of 5. Indulge your inner Howard Carter. Travel ancient tombs. Uncover ancient curses. Explore the ancient and mysterious world of Egyptian archaeology with the Pathway.
Beautiful. 7 years from now.
This
PC
is my
Switch,
mummy BTW.
May 28th. We'll still be doing the show 7 years from now. A slice of life story-driven adventure game with distinctive 3D pixel art. Embark on a journey and accompany Haruto Sarakai, a high schooler on his quest to find the memory he presumably lost in an accident 7 years ago. That sounds like a tearjerker, but I'm interested in it. I would say 4 or 5.
I'm making it the mummy for this week. I'm sorry, but it's got scope. Next up, Roots of Patcha, PC May 28th. You've roamed the primal wilds. Now it's time for you to build a village that will stand for generations. Join up with your friends to create a thriving community, discover crops, befriend animals, unlock technologies, farm, participate in festivals, and find love to grow your legacy. I like the sound of Roots of Patcha. I would say this: dust off the shovel, dust off the pick. It's time to get lost in a brand new farming epic.
You're so good at this. Up next, Song of Horror Complete Edition. Okay, PS4, Xbox, May 28th.
Yeah.
A third-person fixed survival horror adventure. Fear the presence, a mysterious entity you cannot fight. Stay alert, hide, breathe slowly. Explore cursed places where unseen spirits and souls linger in true horror story for the ages. I'm going to give this...
That sounds like your mummy, dude.
I was going to say that. I'm going to 4 out of 5. Hopefully, Song of Horror doesn't become, the standard I can't defend myself horror game. I don't know. That's the best I can come up with. Go for it. Do something better. Do it.
Song of Horror Complete Edition, 4 out of 5. Let this mysterious yet spooky game serenade you with its song of horror.
Beautiful, man.
Okay.
Beautiful.
World's End Club on the Switch, May 28th. Friends till the end. Renowned game writers Kotaro Uchikoski and Kazuzuki Kodaka return with a brand new game that's easy to dive into and full of twists and turns. This charming and vivid story of friendship and mystery will captivate new and experienced players alike. The Go-Getters Club, a group of misfit students from all over Japan, find themselves trapped in a strange theme park during a class trip. In order to unravel the mystery of their circumstances and find an escape, they must take part in a game of fate that will test their bonds of friendship with colourful visuals, charming characters, accessible gameplay, and a compelling story. This is an experience you will never forget. This was in contention to be a mummy. I want to give it 3 out of 5. And what I want to say is don't snooze on this one. Grab it before the apocalypse hits and enjoy World's End Club years away from the end.
Amazing. Fallen Knight. I will also give it a 5. It looks as good. Fallen Knight for PC, May 31st. Take the role of an elite knight and battle your way through action-packed levels with intense sword-fighting gameplay in this neo-classic side-scrolling platformer. Save the city from a deadly terrorist organization hell-bent on exposing the truth you were sworn to protect. I mean, when I heard neo-classic, I'm thinking of like Castlevania. I don't know why.
That's what I think they mean.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I would say 3 out of 5. Nothing witty to say about this one.
3 out of 5. Fallen Knight follows Fallen Day as you play day after day on this exciting new side-scrolling platform game.
That's beautiful.
Every time I do it, it's like I've cured syphilis. It's not that good.
You could have. Do you know what I always do? You know when you call somebody and you're reading off like a model number?
Yeah.
And you're like, P for Peter, K for kite, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I always say K like knife. And it really throws them off. And then they like, excuse me, what do you say? K like knife? And she's like, what? Yeah, K like knife. And then they're like, but sir, K begins with a, doesn't sound like a K. I'm like, well, how else would you say it? How about K for kite, sir? Oh, okay, I'll use that. And then if I do it again, another K, I'd be like K like night. And then one day she was like, sir, this is getting absurd. Like, she was getting upset. I do it all the time. Every time I see a K, I can't stop but say that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I love doing it. Something
it's
I
like,
do.
K, like no, that begins with an N. No, it doesn't. The amount of times I see people miswrite that, it's like, oh, come on. The most basic grasp of the English language. Listen, before we let him slide off like the wasp of cigarette smoke that he is, what's your VHS pick?
Altergeist. The original.
Nice.
Yeah.
The best one.
Did you know in that pool scene, those are real skeletons?
Really?
Those are not props, man. Apparently, they were on a tight budget or time, and they couldn't find proper ones that they looked too fake, so they decided to dig up some ones over there. And they didn't tell the actress until after the fact.
No.
That whole movie's the background of that movie, the story behind that movie is probably more interesting than the movie. The movie's good.
Poltergeist is a Spielberg one, though, isn't it? It's kind of family friendly, really. It's not that scary.
That movie should not be PG.
It shouldn't be a PG.
But there was no PG-13 back in the 80s.
No.
So it was on the cusp of R, really. But I think it's great. I mean, as a kid, I wasn't scared of horror movies, but that clown, for some reason, shook me to my bones, man.
You say some things that always catch me on left field. Like, I wouldn't have expected you to say that, but fair play. You've seen it as a young kid. I saw it for the first time as an adult and left entranced by what I'd seen. I was
like 5 or 6 when I saw it.
Yeah, that's not going to help. Okay, that's not right. Anyway, you've picked that. What am I picking? I don't know. I've been so 6 of one and half a dozen of that. I tell you what I'm going to do to finish it off. I've already watched it, but I'll hire it from Ray again. Downton Abbey the movie. All right. I'm very disappointed. We had our man in Havana, Boba Loba, the finest commenter, also king of the Discord. Oh, I've just invented a new title. Sod it, have it. Put a crown after your name on the Discord. Do whatever you need to do. You've had the official grant now. You can do that, Boba Loba. You feel free to express yourself in a medium through an emoji after your name. He's set up a Downton Abbey area. I seem to go in there, post gifts to myself, tell myself I'm having the best fun, and then throw my phone to one side and watch another 6 hours of Downton Abbey back to back. I'm disappointed that I've used this platform to tell people how great a show it is. No one's decided to engage. No one's decided to watch it. What I think is happening is everyone's gone off to watch it and they're so enthralled with it, they're forgetting to comment. 6 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whenever they've finished it, that area of the Discord will be awash with people.
Well, I really wanted to write and do stuff in it, but I was scared of spoilers.
So I've made it too intimidating?
No, I just don't want anyone to say anything, even if it's something nonchalantly, like, oh, what happened to Paul? Now I'm watching it. Something's happened to Paul.
Paul, something's going to... Yeah, no, you're right. You're cool. You make a solid point. That happened to me, actually, when I was doing research. I always have to research, you know me. I have to go on deep dive. But when you're doing a series, you have to be careful.
You really do.
About how you dissect the information you want to get access to.
100%.
So it's not easy. Stingray's gone. To be honest with you, he fell asleep at the word poltergeist. He's not a big fan of horror. He is horror personified. And he certainly wasn't going to hang around to listen to me talk about Downton Abbey again. He's sick of it. He was on about taking the video out of the boot and binning it. Anyway, those that paid attention at the top of the show, those that follow the show on a regular basis, and let's face it, there's literally thousands of you, we ask this question. Bobby, what are you hoping to play?
Continue Alienation, whatever time we have, no big deal. Finish the Wrath of the Druids for Valhalla, and then I'm going to start Manhunter. I should definitely be playing it this week, for sure.
It's called Maneater.
Maneater, right. Manhunter. I mean...
When you said Manhunter earlier in the What You Up, I thought, I downloaded it. This is cool. I thought you'd been playing Manhunt again.
I wanted to try, but no, I meant Maneater, and I'm sorry.
No, you're all good. I just wanted to, because everyone who listens to the show knows you're a big fan of Manhunt.
I really am. I would love a third game.
I can't see him being able to navigate the controversy anymore.
But if you look at The Last of Us, some of those things were brutal.
I know, but Last of Us wasn't sold on the concept of that. When they sold the idea of Manhunt, they did double down on the sordid controversy they courted to that point with these rather edgy games. And Manhunt was almost like... sometimes when I look at that game, it's like, were they... Like, did they get to the point like, that's edgy? Yeah, but for this game to sell gangbusters, notch it up another 10%. Like, oh, what? You mean like a bag over his head or something? Like, yeah, do that. And then, like, you're playing, like, oof, that's a bit...
No, when I first played, I was a bit shocked. But for some reason, I just really enjoyed it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a sick puppy. Who knows?
No, I actually, it reminds me of a game called The Club. It came out for 360 and PS3. The Club's like the ultimate refinement of it, but... It plays the same every time you play it. It's by a game company called Bizarre Creations that made Project Gotham Racing and all that sort of stuff. It's on PS3 and 360. I think it probably did better on 360 because Xbox owners know about Bizarre Creations, so they've got an appetite for their stuff. But it's like a competitive shooting game. You pick certain characters at the start. There's levels that you get through. There's a little bit of a loose story, but nothing major. And you go, and the guys come from the same place every time. It's an FPS, and the game gives you score. And what you've got, the signs and bits and bobs around the level. So you kill 3 guys, you turn to the left, there's a sign on the wall, like a target that you hit, keeps your combo rolling. Then you turn around, you do something else, then do something else. And if you get all these different shots and hits lined up, and you hit all the combo continuing targets that pop up and little ammo bits and bobs, it's almost like a weird sick hybrid between an FPS, a competitive shooter, an arcade game, and like, I don't know, but, and keeping that rolling, like, bum, 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 right, those guys coming through the left door. The first time you play it, you don't do great because you don't know what's happening, but left door, bam, 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 turn to the right, hit the target above the door, combo continues, kill matey, boom. What you don't want to do is drop the combo, and you keep it rolling. And obviously this had online leaderboards and other stuff. So that's where my mind image takes me. That was one. Classic me. Reigns came off. He went in a completely random location. He came back. No one knew what the hell he was talking about. But I think at least two of the 10 that followed had a nice time.
Sounds good. I never heard of it. So it does sound interesting.
Yeah. Nothing like the game that you've been playing probably, but yeah. What else is going on?
That's it from me, really. What are we watching? Nothing really. I think it might be time to do the Downton Abbey.
Excellent. I'll tell you
What
what.
about you? What are you going to play?
I'm hoping to play a bit more Returnal. I'm slowly starting to form. I wish I just had more time on it. Like I say, I think we'd be way further on. But I'm starting to solidify some ideas about tactics and how I want to run things and go. And yeah, there's lots to learn. It's still fun to play every time. I just want to start putting some real solid foundations down and moving forward. I've messed about with it no end, but I want to. Maybe there's a bank holiday coming up, so maybe I'll take that time to double down on it. I don't know, but we'll see. Because before I know it, Ratchet and Clank will be slimming through the post.
I'm kind of really excited for that.
Stop it! I think it's a bit more of a fun pick up and play, whereas Returnal's like requires a hell of a lot more involvement, and you reset every time you die. Whereas Ratchet and Clank, you're going to spin around on the spot, fade to grey, and then pop up 2 seconds down the road, aren't you? You know, it's. And I think with everything they've learned from Miles and everything they've learned from the Spider-Man previously and everything they've learned from the Ratchet and Clank 2016, they've sat across a real nice trifecta of games there. And I think all of that will boil down into the new Ratchet and Clank in a real nice way. Because I was watching some footage of that with the eye of, hang on a minute, are we approaching here a reskinned Spider-Man at this point? And I was thinking to myself, yeah, there's some similarities here because he's got that grapple. Yeah. And the way he moves and the way he chains these things together and fights the guys, it had a real vibe of Spider-Man to it. And I thought this game, although people will pass over it initially because they think it's a game for kids, I think if it's got the systems and the hooks in it that Spider-Man's got, I think that will be probably the first big exclusive. I think it might pop. If it gets on the websites anywhere between 7, 8, and 9, you know it's going to be on fire. If it gets the upper end, I think it will do some big numbers. But I think that because Returnal's a little bit more of an acquired taste of a game. It's not everyone's cup of tea, whereas that is a game that's going to tick everyone's box, from a hardcore gamer to a trophy hunter to a kid that's just playing at level 1. You know, they don't really know what they're doing, but they like flying around and looking at the pretties. Yeah, everyone can have a go at that. It's going to be probably 16 or 3 probably on the PEGI rating. I don't know where it's going to fall, but one would imagine it's not going to be any higher than 16, which is obviously what all the PlayStation exclusives aim at. I think Ratchet and Clank was a 7 when it came out in 2016. I need to check, but yeah, it's much more accessible game. It's more of a traditional game. I think there's a lot of hype for it, and there's a little bit of nostalgia for the character as well, because it's been a while. I think, you know, we saw him with that pop-up game in 2016. Prior to that was PS3. So, yeah, I think there's going to be some... to be honest, Bobby, I think we've done enough, haven't we?
Yeah.
Before we let them go, I want to thank everyone. If this is your first ever show of the Unofficial Controller podcast, I love you. If this is your 105th episode of the Unofficial Controller podcast, we love you. All right? 5 minutes, 5 years, 2 minutes, 2 years. We don't care. We love everyone the same. Thank you. If you want to take it to the next level, pop down the Discord, give us both a virtual hug. If you've never been on there before, come mate yourself. You just got your new best buds, right? Yeah. Rewind and listen to Retro Gamer Thomas's comment. You've just got your new best buds. And this show is the cement that holds it together. What happens on the Discord is the real meat and veg of the show. We're just the whipped cream on the top of a coffee that takes it from a coffee to something a little bit more structured, something a little bit more avant-garde. That's what we are. Bobby, I'm going to say that's all we have time for this week. Listeners, as always, thank you for your time. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming, and remember, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it being given the unofficial controller, but it's what you do with it that counts. Take care, Bobby. See you, everyone.
Peace out, George. Bye, guys.